Happy St. Patrick's Day, folks. Welcome back to #AskGSM episode 642 here today for Tuesday, March 17, 2026. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well, enjoying your week. Thank you so much for tuning in, either live or after the fact. Always appreciated. We'll get to the chat in a little bit. Want to shout out our channel members first. Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, Daniel, Malcolm at I'm Quarter on X, DJ Swerve1 at Swerve1 on IG. You know, he was at Revolution a couple days ago, had a great time, so shout out to Swerve. I'll see you at WrestleMania, my friend, hopefully. Mr. Marceau at RJ_Marceau on X, who is returning to WrestleRant Radio this Thursday. Keep an eye out for that. We're going to be talking a lot about AEW, WWE, all the latest in the world of wrestling. Shout out to John Ritland as well. Real Honesty with John Ritland on YouTube. Richie Red Planet Wrestling on YouTube. And Average Grunt at gruntwrestling.bluesky.social on Blue Sky. More information and how to become a WrestleRant All Access Pass channel member with shout outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream that we do here on the channel. Available down below. More information on that available down below in the description box. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Of course, on Facebook as well, find me, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post. I usually put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, include your question down below in the comment section on this very video after we're done being live here today, of course, and I'll include your question in next week's edition. But you can also include your question in the chat. If you are watching live, I'll get to it momentarily. At the very least, if you want to support the show, support the channel, you could do so by liking this video, subscribing, and turning on notifications to be notified every single time we upload new content and every single time we're live here on the channel, typically on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You know what I was just thinking about before we went live here, about doing another watch-along. We did one about 2 months ago. Feels like it was just yesterday with how quickly time has passed and whatnot, and how short February was. But I was thinking of doing another watch-along, but for WrestleMania 17. I think that would be a lot of fun. A WrestleMania 17 watch-along on the exact 25-year anniversary of the event coming up on April 1st. That's going to be a Wednesday. I feel like that would be the perfect day to do a WrestleMania watch-along. And it's not one of those shows that was, fucking 8 hours or whatever, so let me know in the chat or after the fact, what have you, if you think that would be a fun idea to either watch after the fact, like if you can't join us live midday on a Wednesday, or to join us live for that in a couple of weeks. And that's going to be coming up in, 2 weeks. Next week's the 24th, and the week after that would be the first week of April, so coming up quickly. But nonetheless, again, guys, I thank you so much for tuning in live or watching today's video, what have you. It doesn't really matter which one. I appreciate it always. So I'll pull up the chat now before we get to these scheduled questions a little bit later on. Let's see what you guys are saying here. Fernando, what's going on, brother? He said, hello, WrestleRant earlier, but then he said, I think this is a top 5 best AEW pay-per-view ever and greatest Revolution pay-per-view in AEW history. Going off of today's headline as to whether Revolution was among AEW's best pay-per-views they've ever done. We'll get into it. Keep an eye out for it. We'll talk about that later on. He said, how surprised was I to see Ronda Rousey have a face-off with Timeless Tony at Revolution? I was very surprised. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one. But the funny thing is, and I'm not just saying this because it's convenient, I was literally just thinking while watching that Tony Marina match. And Marina's been on television for years now, so I don't really know why I didn't think of this sooner. Not that Ronda should be in AEW, but just the fact, I'm just surprised Ronda did not try going to AEW. I mean, when she came back to wrestling in 2022, I wasn't surprised that she went to WWE. She had unfinished business there. She had been there previously. They could probably offer her more money. AEW had a lot of women at that point. They have way more women now. AEW could have used her back in 2022, but it made more sense for her to go back to WWE. That run fucking sucked. A lot of what she did really was not that good, and then she left wrestling in 2023. Now, she did have that one-off Ring of Honor match in late 2023, but that didn't really lead to anything. She actually teamed with Marina, one of the former 4 horsewomen of MMA. Those two, Jessamine Duke, Shayna Baszler, who is also gone from WWE, but not really. She popped up in that backstage segment vignette or whatever with Kalani Jordan a few weeks ago on NXT. I think reportedly she works in NXT as like a producer or whatever, so she's probably not going to AEW, although at one point I think she would have been a fine fit there. But yeah, I was really surprised to see Ronda, especially since her sights are seemingly set on the Netflix boxing fight in a few months, coming up I think in May. And honestly, that is probably why she showed up, knowing she has a friend in AEW in Marina Shafir, and they can help, AEW can help her promote that boxing fight, which I think has already sold fairly well. I still think it's going to be a fucking disaster. I mean, just because the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight sold exceptionally well and did so well social-wise, numbers-wise, attendance-wise, whatever, doesn't mean it was a success financially, but just in how it was viewed and how it was perceived, it was a fucking mess. And I can't imagine the Ronda-Gina Carano fight will be much different. Maybe it exceeds expectations. Mr. Marceau and myself, who was the resident MMA boxing expert, much more than I am, even said himself that he thought it would be a dumb fucking idea for them to be doing that fight. So I think she's only in AEW to be promoting that fight, but at the same time, would she really wrestle in AEW before she fights in a few months? I don't know. Maybe that's the last time we see her for another few months, and it was a one-off cameo for right now. I don't know. But to answer your question, I was very much surprised to see her on Sunday night. Fernando also said, is Ronda Rousey the crossover star AEW has been needing to sign since losing CM Punk years ago? Interesting question. I don't think CM Punk was a crossover star. I know he had done MMA, but obviously I applaud his effort to try mixed martial arts and to go into UFC. It did not work out. Both fights were bad. He did not look great. He was done. After that second fight, it was over. And then he went back to wrestling a few years later. CM Punk was never a crossover star. Ronda Rousey at this point has more buzz and is more relevant than I gave her credit for. Apparently because, according to Meltzer, that Netflix fight is doing well and whatnot. I mean, the peak of her popularity was legitimately over a fucking decade ago. She left the business over a decade ago, that being MMA, went to wrestling soon after, and excelled at that at first. Her second run really brought no new eyeballs to the product. And that was when she was in WWE, a much bigger company. That second run did her no favor. She was in a main event match at WrestleMania in 2019. The match itself was whatever, but the build was very good. And she helped kind of get over Becky Lynch during that period, not by losing her directly via submission as she should have. Ronda Rousey's a bit of a baby. But then she comes back, and she put over a handful of talents, but just like the way that she was putting over some of these women, the matches she was having, the promos, my God, were fucking awful. The creative largely sucked. She wasn't having blowaway matches. A lot of those matches really were not that good. That Charlotte Mania match was a dud. The Shotzi Survivor Series match sucked. The Liv Morgan matches were not great. The Shayna Baszler match, where they had that MMA fight, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, it's at SummerSlam in 2023, also sucked. So I don't think she really genuinely helps AEW at all by being there. That doesn't mean I'm not intrigued to see what she could do there without the WWE proverbial handcuffs on her. Maybe she'll be a lot better. Maybe she'll be the badass that we saw in WWE in 2018. I don't know. I'm willing to give it a chance, but just given her track record and what we saw from her the last time she was involved in wrestling 3-4 years ago, I'm not overly optimistic. But I would not go so far as to call her a crossover star that will in any way benefit AEW. I think it's a nice coup to have her, simply for the fact she's back in the headlines now as part of this Netflix fight. I don't really think she's this grand signing that AEW should be, parading about, and she's the savior of the women's division. She helped the WWE women's division a lot in 2018. She did not help them fucking at all in 2022. And she's continued to spout her mouth off about dumb shit since then. I don't really see this being a massive W for AEW, but I'm curious to see how it goes. He also said, if Ronda Rousey is truly willing to commit to wrestling in AEW, how much does she elevate the women's division in AEW? In my opinion, none. Maybe marginally, maybe. But the issue with the women's division in AEW has nothing to do with the lack of talent. It has entirely to do with the booking and the creative. They just need better storylines. They already have Mercedes Moné. Mercedes Moné, for as much of an issue as I had with the whole belt collector thing and how I kind of thought that was a waste of time personally, she has done far more to elevate that division than Ronda Rousey ever could. at least in 2026. But you have Timeless Tony Storm. You have Mercedes Moné. Tekla's great. She's a new name. I think she's really excelled in her role. Chris Statlander is really, really good. They have a lot of other women they could be focusing on, doing more with. They have the TBS Championship on Willow Nightingale. They just put the women's tag titles on Megan Bayne and Lena Cross, who they also just brought in. They do not need Ronda Rousey. They've put far more stock, honestly, in Marina Shafir, who I find to be fucking boring. But they've put far more stock into her and elevating her than whatever Ronda Rousey could do in that company. Just my personal opinion. I am curious to see how this will go. Maybe it ends up being a smashing success and she's great and has all these fun storylines. I'm not getting my hopes up. But I honestly, genuinely don't think she elevates that division. Would her losing, first of all, I'm not sold. I don't know if she would honestly agree to lose in AEW to Timeless Tony Storm. Not that she doesn't like Tony, but like in WWE, she was weird about even like losing to Becky, and she was very protective over her spot. And if she did lose, it had to be in a certain way. She talked about this in her fucking book, as did Becky Lynch. And she just seems to be a bit of a baby. And at this point, the juice isn't really worth the squeeze with Ronda Rousey. So Timeless Tony Storm is already as big of a star as I think she can be in that company. Beating Ronda doesn't hurt her, but it definitely, in my opinion, doesn't really elevate her all that much, or really the division as a whole. Who was Randy Orton talking to on the phone? I don't know. I am intrigued to see who it is. I know this company is all about the fucking mysteries and all this other nonsense, but I am curious to see where they go with that. No, I don't think it's Ted DiBiase. Maybe 10 years ago, but first of all, would anyone even really remember Ted DiBiase? The son, not the father. And second of all, isn't he like about to be imprisoned or something? So no, I don't think it's Ted DiBiase. You know, I honestly, my first thought was, and I fucking hate that I'm saying this, my first thought was Ric Flair. And I know Ric Flair's a GOAT, but Ric Flair in 2026 is just, he really didn't have much value to any promotion, even in 2014. I remember they brought him back for a segment on Raw when they were reuniting Evolution. And I don't know what the fuck that segment was supposed to be, but he said nothing and he walked away and it was awful. And then he never factored into the rest of the storyline. It was so bizarre. And genuinely, anytime they have used Ric Flair since then, other than to help kind of his daughter, really has not been good at all. Including in AEW, I thought he was awful. So I hope they don't bring in Randy Orton. They already used Flair with Orton, not only in the original Evolution. I mean, this guy is fucking tied to the Nature Boy. They were aligned in Evolution over 20 years ago. Evolution turned on Orton at that point. But they were also kind of doing stuff together in 2007. They were doing stuff together in 2009. After Ric Flair had already fucking retired, they were doing stuff together. And then when else did they do something? They were, doing the Evolution reunion in 2014. Flair was involved in that. And then Orton went heel in 2020. Flair was involved in that. It's like he just can't fucking escape this guy. Why would they even trust each other from a storyline standpoint? It's not like they're best friends, a la Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn or Gargano and Ciampa. It doesn't make sense. I hope to God it's not Ric Flair, but honestly, that was my first thought. I feel like that's probably where they're going with this. I've seen some speculate Kevin Owens. That would be cool. I don't know if they want KO and he can't really get physical, obviously, because he's still healing from his neck injury, surgery, whatever. So I don't know if they would want to bring him back to do just talking stuff. I would. I feel like that would be the best possibility. My other first thought was that he was talking to himself. And I think that would be stupid. But like we've already heard all the talk about, Orton's listening to the voices in his head. I mean, would he really be talking on the phone to the voices in his head? That would just be dumb. But I could also just see them doing that. El Idolo versus Bandito and MJF versus Hangman are match of the year contenders. I guess you're asking me the question because you put a question mark after them. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, MJF and Hangman was a great match. I'm not entirely on board with a lot of the dumb shit, like the syringe stuff, but at this point, I'm just kind of numb to it personally. No pun intended, but it was a massive match. It was an entertaining main event. It lived up to the stipulation, so you got to put that on the list of early match of the year contenders. And Idolo and Bandito was a fantastic match, but honestly, I feel like this company has already had so many great matches in 2026, and will continue to have so many great matches that genuinely Bandito and Andrade will either be forgotten about or not be as high up on the list. So yeah, for now it's among the best matches of the year. But AEW churns out great matches literally every single week. It will likely be forgotten about by the end of the year. But I hope not, because it was a great match. Eric said, I say this, I'm not a Ronda fan, but I understand she's a massive name to feud with Tony. Is she a massive name, though, in 2026? I know she's doing the boxing fight. But Ronda has not been, like, all that relevant in a very long time. I mean, she's relevant. She's more relevant in comparison to most of the AEW women's roster because she's just more culturally known and people still know Ronda Rousey's name. But are people really going out of their way? I mean, the boxing fight is a novelty thing. Like, oh my God, she's coming out of retirement to see how she does. If she actually came out of retirement full time, she would not have maybe even a tenth of the same impact that she did in UFC over 10 years ago, because it's not the same thing. Women's MMA, women's boxing has come a long way. I mean, I keep saying boxing fight. It's not a boxing fight. I think it's a fucking MMA fight. But anyway, yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't really think she's as relevant as people think that she is. Daniel, what's going on, brother? Fernando said, what are your thoughts on the potential match of Jelly Roll and Royce Keys versus Miz and Kit Wilson at Mania? I mean, it sounds like a waste of a Mania match, to be honest with you. There's so many people who do not have direction going into WrestleMania, but you're going to get fucking Jelly Roll on the card again. I like Jelly Roll. Genuinely, he comes across as a good dude, and I thought he did well at SummerSlam, and he came across as extremely likable on that Unreal documentary. Does he really need to take up a spot at the Mania card as well? In my opinion, the answer is no. On the bright side, I mean, Kit Wilson, I enjoy. Does he need to be on the Mania card? No. Does Miz need to be on the Mania card in 2026? Fuck no. And that's coming from someone who is a Miz fan. Royce Keys really being a part of this match is the only reason why this match would even be worthwhile. If he gets the team with a celebrity at WrestleMania, that might be worth it. The rest of this I really don't care about. But Royce Keys, if he is indeed the partner for Jelly Roll, I think that could work. Herrick said, ask Grant his picks for March Madness. He said he's got UConn. Go Huskies. Go solo ball. Fernando said, Mania 17 is my favorite Mania ever. Austin versus Rock Mania rematch. Yeah, it's a great Mania and still probably the best of all time, to be honest with you. Fernando said, were you surprised Bailey lost to AJ by submission? Mike Bailey? Oh, no, Bailey. You wrote it as Bailey, like Speedball Mike Bailey. You're talking Bailey, the women's wrestler, to AJ Lee on Raw last night. No, I wasn't surprised. I mean, AJ's finisher is the Black Widow. She also does the jump up Inzaguri or Shining Wizard or whatever. No one really knows that's her finisher, and she hasn't even won with that yet in WWE since being back. She has almost always won, even dating back to her original run of the company. She has almost always won with the Black Widow. So I'm not surprised that she beat Bailey with it. It's not like Bailey loses anything in defeat. It's fucking Bailey. I mean, she's been around for over 10 years. She will always be credible. I think Bailey will be fine. So, no, I was not surprised by it, and I'm glad she won decisively, and the Becky Lynch stuff was saved until afterward, because I did think Becky might interfere in the match. I'm glad she did not. Grunt, what's going on, my man? He said, happy post-Revolution stream, everyone. What a banger show. It was a great show. It was fucking too long, but, I mean, stop me if you've heard that before. But otherwise, it was a very good show. Fernando said, I think Punk being triggered by being called old was very lame, but the rest of the promo was great. I agree. That was a dumb ending. I mean, I tweeted this out last night, but it reminded me of when Cena got called the New York Yankees by CM Punk, and that was enough. Of everything Punk said in that contract signing with Cena back in 2011, that was enough to trigger Cena and cause him to punch Punk. It was dumb then, it's dumb now with Punk being called old, and that was enough for him to push Roman. I had seen a report from Body Slam right before we went live here that the original ending of that promo was supposed to be Roman. I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but they're a pretty reliable source. It was supposed to be Roman, like, referencing Larry, which is exactly what we fucking said 2 weeks ago. Roman Reigns got his dad disrespected. His dead dad was disrespected, and he came out as if almost nothing happened. Now, I know he was playing mind games with Punk. I get it. I understand the story they're telling. But surely there was a better verbal jab that Punk could have been more offended by that would have caused him to punch Roman Reigns. Even real glass or something. I don't know. In that same fucking promo, Roman Reigns referenced Punk's wife, AJ Lee. Why not even just use that as the impetus for why Punk is punching Roman Reigns? I thought that was weird. Noel said, I give Ronda 2 months at least, 3 months being generous. I mean, I don't know if I would even go that far. I mean, you might honestly have to wait that long to form an accurate opinion of what Ronda can really do at this point in professional wrestling. I don't know if I want to wait that long. Like, we could get a good sense of what she could do or what she's capable of in the span of like a month. I mean, I don't even know if she'll be there on Wednesday. She might have just shown up on Sunday and then we don't see her again until after the fight. I don't know. P.S. Mercedes is now down to 5 belts. I saw that. Hey, listen, kudos to her. She's actually losing all these indie belts on these indie shows. I didn't think she would. I thought she would just fucking vacate them. I know she won them. But like for Tony Khan to also agree to have her lose these belts in the same promotion she won them is great. I didn't know if they would actually do that. I'm glad they are. Noob said, when I saw Ronda Rousey in AEW, I was trying to not react negatively or yell like a maniac, he said. I just think to myself and say, yeah, bringing Ronda to AEW is pretty much screaming ruin forever in AEW or for AEW. I mean, AEW is not ruined forever because they brought in Ronda Rousey. I don't know if it's a great look, but it is, it's intriguing. I'll tell you that much. What grade do I give the Randy heel turn on SmackDown? A. I thought it was great. Execution was great, got me more excited for the story. I really liked it. We still don't know who Paul Heyman was talking to before Survivor Series. I think you mean the Rumble. We will never find out. I know what you're talking about. I don't think that was ever meant to be a mystery. That was meant to lead to something down the road. Like the Jacob Fatu thing, I do think, call me stupid, I still do think they will get back to that at some point. The Paul Heyman, who was he on the phone with? I don't think they'll ever get back to that. I don't think that was ever supposed to be like this big mystery. What if Randy is forming a new legacy faction? Well, they already have a new legacy faction in NXT called Birthright, so unless he calls those guys up, I don't know what this new legacy faction would even be. I think someone had said here on one of these streams, what if the faction was like Orton with Ricky Saints and Ethan Page? That I could get behind. I mean, I feel like this company has already too many factions as AEW does, but that would be more intriguing than Orton bringing up fucking Lexis King. And I like Charlie Dempsey, but Uriah Connors, is he main roster ready? Probably not. The Channing Stacks Lorenzo, come on, give me a break. I'm not saying that you're suggesting that. I'm just saying if they were to do another legacy, they're literally doing another legacy under a different name in NXT right now. So it would have to be some sort of other group. And I think, honestly, Ricky Saints and Ethan Page would be two perfect people for that. Orton with FTR many years ago was great. It did not last nearly as long as it should have, but they're in AEW, so you can't do that. Nathaniel said, hi guys, I'm excited Copeland and Christian are back. How would you feel about a triple threat for the tag titles? I think that'd be cool. I don't know when they do that. I honestly think Cope and Christian are winning the tag titles from FTR in Canada at Dynasty. And then maybe a double or nothing, you could do a 3-way, or they could do, honestly, they could do Cope and Christian versus the Bucks double or nothing, or fucking Anarchy in the Arena or whatever. And then they could do either the 3-way it all in August or whenever it is. I think it's in August this year. Or they could save Cope and Christian versus the Bucks for that show and then do like a triple threat ladder match if they have the FTR involved. There's a couple different directions they can go in, but I do think Cope and Christian will be champions on the Sooner side, probably as early as Dynasty in Canada, if I had to guess. Grunt said, Ronda showing up went over like a wet fart on Blue Sky. I'm sure it did. I mean, pretty similar reaction on Twitter. People were like, what the fuck is she doing here? But it's not like people were overly excited. I can't imagine the EW sickos are salivating at the thought of having Ronda Rousey on the women's roster. I don't honestly think anyone in wrestling really cares that much about Ronda Rousey in 2026 for this to be considered like some sort of blockbuster signing. It is a big deal. Will it end up being a good thing? I am very skeptical. Nathaniel said the Lakers won last night. Cool. Randy does have history with the Wyatts. Are you suggesting that it would be Uncle Howdy? I mean, that would make sense. Or anyone in the Wyatt 6. I think they're kind of busy with the MFTs right now, so I'm going to say no on that front. I feel like Aleister Black would make more sense than anyone in the Wyatts. Nathaniel said, I could see Copeland and Christian winning the tag titles at Dynasty or Double or Nothing. I just said the same thing. Emmanuel, what's going on, brother? He sent questions for today that we'll get to later, but he said here, the ultimate swerve is that Randy Orton is bringing back Manu and Sim Snuka. Whatever the fuck happened to Sim Snuka? I know Manu was like doing, I think FCW, not FCW. What decade am I in? I know he was doing, I think, MLW stuff at one point. I actually met Manu about 5 years ago. 5 years ago this month. He was at a convention, the big event. And he was a nice guy. I got an autograph from Mr. Marceau because it was a joke. He was a Manu fan kind of back in the day, blah, blah, blah. Never heard what happened to Sim Snuka. I know he was Jimmy Superfly Snuka's son, but he wasn't really that good. He was, I think, Domino, right? Or was he Deuce? I think he was Deuce. And then he got fired right after that, so that would be pretty funny. Nathaniel said, Spider-Man No Way Home trailer coming out tomorrow. I did see that. I'm excited. Oba answered Brock's open challenge. Me too. I thought that was a great segment, great angle. Grunt said FTR double or Dynasty, Double or Nothing, and then the Bucks it all in. Yeah, I could see that, but like, so definitely FTR Dynasty. At Double or Nothing, I mean, if you insert the Bucks, it's a different match. But why would you then again do Cope and Christian versus FTR? Cope and Christian have already beaten FTR once before. And then we're assuming they're going to win again at Dynasty. So unless it's a rubber match at Double or Nothing, I would not run back FTR in a third consecutive. I mean, I guess you could do a stip, but it just makes FTR look like losers. They can't beat these guys in 3 consecutive matches. So, I mean, if they were in a triple threat, different story. But if it's like straight up, probably not. But either way, we're kind of the same mindset, I think. Fernando said, it sounds like Punk pulled that doesn't work for me brother card about Larry being mentioned by Roman. It sounds like it to me, and if so, I mean, that's stupid. I mean, what a baby. I mean, he can bring up Roman's dead father, but he can't bring up his dead dog. And I'm not saying they should go far to bring up the dead dog, but hey, listen, Roman got his fucking dead dad brought up, so to me, that would make it even. Noel said, Roman should have said, I'll buy you a new dog after WrestleMania. Maybe you'll call him Larry Jr. I mean, they could have gotten more creative than that, but yeah, anything relating to Larry, I feel like would have been fair game after Roman's dead dad got brought up, but apparently not. I don't know if Roman or Punk kiboshed that. I mean, probably. Or if it was creative going in a different direction. What they came up with instead was fucking dumb. Punk shit on Roman's dead dad, and Roman did not punch him. Punk just walked away like an asshole. Punk gets called old. That's enough for him to strike Roman. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. Emmanuel said, I read some people rationalize that the story behind the Reigns Punk thing is that CM Punk is being insecure about being old and past his prime, and Reigns is capitalizing on that. No, I know that's the story. It's not a bad story. But did he really have to fucking punch him? I mean, just in comparison to Roman not getting rattled as much as you would think in storyline by Punk calling out his dead father, that's a good story to tell, but I thought that was a disconnect. And it was also underwhelming too, considering what we've already seen from them in the last few weeks. What grade do I give the Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi segment? A- solely because the Masked Men shit is just so fucking awful. I almost changed the channel. They got me in the first half, I'm not going to lie. They had me thinking that we were getting Lesnar and Rollins at Mania, which would have been awful. And then they swerved us with the Femi show up, and it was great. I thought that was really well done, and I tweeted this out last night. I have never seen, I don't think, at least not in recent memory, anyone manhandle Brock the way that Oba Femi did last night. And it was tremendous. I thought that was great. Got a great reaction, far and away the best thing on the show last night. Really, really great shit. Nathaniel said, I think Brock should lose to Oba. He definitely should. I'm not convinced that he will. I feel like it's 50-50, especially given that report that Brock doesn't want to lose until he retires. But whatever. Honestly, I want to be just pessimistic and say that Brock will win, but I really hope Oba pulls out the victory. I feel like he needs it. Obviously, Brock doesn't fucking need it. But I think Oba to lose, it doesn't kill him, but it would just be dumb. That's like having Goldberg gain all that momentum back in the 90s, and then he just fucking loses. It's like if Gunther got brought up and lost in 6 months. It would be stupid. That would be dumb. Fernando said WWE totally gave Karrion and Scarlett's gimmick to Alistair and Zelina, right? Oh, they definitely did. They literally just said, hey, we have another dark character on SmackDown. Let's get rid of Karrion and just give it to Black and Zelina instead. Literally, that is exactly what they did. right down to Aleister Black playing mind games. And he plays the role very well, don't get me wrong. He plays the role extremely well. It's just funny how quickly they copy and pasted that character, that gimmick, to Black and Zelina. Maybe we'll get Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys one final time. Who knows? I'm going to go off on a limb and say no. Noel, I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe a few years ago, sure, but the Hardys left the company 2 years ago. They've been doing really well in TNA. I don't think they ever go back to AEW at this point. If anything, I think we would see them back in WWE for one final match, run, whatever. I mean, even now they're kind of getting up there in age. It has to be soon. Much likelier chance we get them back in WWE. I mean, we've already seen them in NXT. So I would be shocked if they went back to AEW before they went to... They know they want to retire where they started, and that's in WWE. That may have even been the plan dating back to 2021, 2022, when they were both in AEW. But especially now, at this point, I don't even know how good that match would be in 2026. CNC versus FTR versus Bucks. Ladder match would slap hard. I approve. I mean, I think that'd be great. Probably at All In. I feel like that's a better attraction for All in my opinion. Emmanuel said, according to Wikipedia, Sim Snuka / Deuce most recently reunited with Domino on the Independents. Did anyone know about this? Like literally recently, like in 2026, or recently as in like 10 years ago? I have heard nothing about that. And I feel like Twitter would have exploded at the thought that Deuce and Domino were back together because people, I guess, really liked the Deuce and Domino thing. They were kind of a flop in WWE, but people really liked the music and the gimmick. They were only around for like a fucking year. I mean, Deuce and Domino debuted, I want to say, in 07. They broke up by 08, and Sim Snuka was... both guys were fired by 09. So they really did not last long. The fact they got reunited on the Indies, though, seems a little bit late, though, don't you think? They broke up 20 years ago. What the fuck took so long? Grunt asked, match of the night for Revolution. It's a good question. I thought Moxley and Takeshita was really good. It might be Bandito and Andrade. I think the main event would be the easy answer because it was the biggest match on the show. It was a spectacle. I hate the fucking syringe shit, but I know that's par for the course for this company, so whatever. It was also a Texas Death Match. Okay, whatever. For me, I think it was Bandito and Andrade. I think that match was great. Honestly, a lot earlier than usual. My review is up. My written review of the show is up right now on WrestleRant.com. Go check it out right now. I put it up yesterday. I did watch most of the show live and wrote my review during the show. I just have other shit I got to catch up on still. I'm not completely caught up on the reviews yet, but that review is up from Sunday night. And I thought it was a great show. I mean, the return of Ospreay was great. I don't know. Tekla and Statlander was solid. It wasn't like a great match. I thought their, last match was better. Not Tony and Marina. Not the fucking Blackjack Battle Royal, which was kind of a mess to be honest. Honestly, you know what? It might have been the Bucks and FTR. That match was great too. That was a really, really good opener. I'm inclined to say that match. I'm going to say the match tonight was FTR versus the Bucks, if not Andrade versus Bandito. But I can also understand an argument being made for the Texas Deathmatch main event. The real question will be whether Brock puts over Oba or pulls a "that doesn't work for me, brother." Yeah, I said that before. I would not be shocked if Oba refused to lose to Oba Femi or anyone at WrestleMania. I'm just glad we're getting the match. I mean, if Oba loses, that's fucking dumb, but it's better than Brock and Knight or Brock and Rollins. At least we're getting the match. And the kickoff to the build last night was really, really good. Fernando said, so what does WWE do with Seth Rollins if Braun Breaker is not healthy in time for Mania? Genuinely, I have no fucking clue. I am wondering the same exact thing. If Breaker's not good in time, and I don't think he will be, I think they may just have Rollins sit out the show or get involved in whatever like the Usos are doing with Logan Paul and, Theory and the Vision. Honestly, I have no idea. I really don't even think you need him on the show. There's no match that makes sense. You know what? You know what I was thinking this morning, though? What if they just said fuck it and had Rollins face Gunther? We've never seen that match one-on-one. I mean, we saw it once on Raw in 2019 when Gunther was in NXT UK. But, since Gunther's been on the main roster, I don't think they've done that match yet. They've teased it a few times, but they haven't done it yet. Honestly, I would say fuck it and just do that match at WrestleMania. and have Gunther beat Rollins. And Rollins isn't 100%. I don't know how you get there, but if you want to get both guys on the show, because it's not like Gunther has anything going on right now, then I would just do that. Nathaniel said, I wasn't surprised FTR won because I think Tony wants to put the belts on CNC, maybe in a triple threat, but man, the Young Bucks family was there. Good. I'm glad they lost. I mean, if they won, I would have gotten it, but I'm glad they lost. They can always win the belts. They were already champions a year and a half ago. They don't need to fucking win the belts for like a fourth or fifth time already. They can wait. I'm glad FTR retained. They will be, I almost can guarantee you, they will be the team to take those titles from Cope and Christian. So I don't really feel all that bad that they lost on Sunday. Fernando said, triple threat, the Hardys, Cope and Christian, and the New Age Outlaws would be fire, LOL. That sounds like it's the recipe for, I don't even know. Disaster is putting it lightly. That would be awful. Which Revolution surprise was my favorite? I expected to see Cope and Christian. I'm glad we got them. I thought that was well done. Ronda just was the biggest shock. I mean, I was like, the fuck? Where the fuck did that come from? I didn't love it, but I was like, where the fuck? That was the biggest shocker. And then you had Omega, and then you had Ospreay. Omega, I didn't think he'd be back on Sunday. I'm glad we saw him, though. I'm glad he's back. I mean, he was never going to be gone for long. He was only just gone to do the Capcom thing or whatever in Japan. But anyway, I feel like they probably should have saved that for Dynamite. His return kind of got lost in the shuffle. It was like the fourth consecutive match, and someone else returned afterward. They probably should have spaced that out better. But my favorite return was easily Will Ospreay. I did not think he'd be back this early, and I did not think he would be medically cleared, but he clearly is if he was out there hitting his shit on people in the Black Bull or the Death Riders. So definitely Ospreay. The reaction was great. He's a star. I'm glad he's back. Hopefully he's 100% and they're not rushing him back early because he had fucking neck surgery. He was only out for like 7 months. We thought he would be out for like a year. I mean, it's March and the guy's already back. I'm happy, but I just hope he's okay and he's not rushing it back and risking further injury. I'm leaning towards Brody Swerve personally. Oh, interesting. For best match. I mean, that was a really good match too. I thought they had a good match. I thought the other matches I mentioned were better. But Swerve and Brody was a very good match. Should Cope and Christian win the tag titles from FTR? Yes, and I do think they will. Grunt said, no clear Mania plans for Rollins or Gunther is fucking wild. You know what? It is. Well, first of all, yes, it is fucking wild. But you know what's almost even worse? I don't know if it's worse, but it's just as bad. They don't have Mania plans for LA Knight, who is, for as over as he is, makes zero sense to me. And they also don't have Mania plans for Io fucking Sky, who might be genuinely the best women's wrestler or one of the best wrestlers, period, in that entire company. Don't tell me she's facing Raquel Rodriguez. I mean, come on, man. I said this last night on Twitter. That is not a Mania match. She should be facing Asuka. Now, I know they haven't feuded in a while. They'd really have to heat up that issue. I don't know what the fuck they're waiting for. I like Raquel. She should not be on Mania over Asuka. Asuka should be on Mania before Raquel Rodriguez at this point in time. Io and Raquel is not a fucking Mania match. That's raw shit. Asuka and Io, they have not done it on a major stage yet. They did it one SmackDown match and also one house show that I was there for many years ago. But they had one TV match in 2023. They've held off on it since then because I thought they were going to do it at Mania. Why the fuck would you not? That's just crazy to me. Am I a fan of the Rizzler? I do. I actually do enjoy the Costco guy stuff, but they gotta they've been doing the same shit now since they started, and it's been like 2 years. They probably should be doing something different. It can't be the same shit every time. And they gotta I know they're doing it as like a novelty thing. Okay, at some point you gotta do something more significant, or the crowds are eventually gonna turn on it because it's the same shit every time. What's the ceiling for Brody King? Good question. I don't want to say that he can't be world champion. I don't think he will be just because the roster is so stacked. In a company with the roster that AEW has, I don't think Brody King wins the world title. But he can be upper mid-card, and he has been as of late, and he deserves that because the guy's very good. So I don't think we ever see Brody King as AEW world champion. Maybe Ring of Honor world champion, like if he turns on Bandito and takes the belt from him. But upper mid-card probably in AEW. He has done main event stuff in AEW. I just don't ever see them putting the top title on him. When so many other people have been overlooked for world title opportunities, I don't see them giving that shot or that run to Brody King. I'd be happy if they did. I just don't see it happening. What if Io gets added to Stephanie versus Liv? Why? I have no interest in that. I mean, it would get Io on the card, but what's the point, you know? I mean, of all the matches that could be multi-person matches at Mania, that is the match. I mean, honestly, if anything, Raquel would make more sense. I know what I just said, but storyline-wise, Raquel would make more sense to be in that match than Io Sky. Given her tension with Liv and her issues with Stephanie, I don't even want to see that. But Io should be facing Asuka. There's no excuse for her not to face Asuka on that show. What's my favorite TLC match involving the original three? Probably the Mania 17 one. I mean, they're all great, obviously, but probably the Mania 17 one. Noob said, I don't want to see Io Sky face Raquel Rodriguez. Can we just end the experiment already? Also, put the Kabuki Warriors back in the women's tag team title chase and just get that started already. Or don't put the Kabuki Warriors back in the women's tag team title chase again, he's saying. You know, I agree with that. I was going to say, do not put them back in the tag team title picture. We've already seen that 1,000 times. They're a good team, but it's like, come on, man. They should be doing Io and Asuka one-on-one at Mania. There's no reason not to. It's fucking stupid if they don't. I hope they don't keep dragging that shit out. There is no reason to not do that match at Mania. Even if it was a three-way with Kairi Sane. I mean, come on, man. The story's right there. Grunt said, so I think a way to heat up the Forbidden Door concept back up is to not only involve more promotions like CMLL and Stardom, but also to drop the promotion versus promotion matches and just feature title matches from each company as one big showcase. What are your thoughts? I think that'd be a much better idea. Because at this point, and I was already thinking that too, at this point, there really is no appeal to doing CMLL versus AEW or New Japan versus AEW. First of all, we have seen all the big matches they can do. Second of all, New Japan specifically has no real top talent left. They have a lot of good people on their roster. AEW, like all the Ospreys and the Okadas, Jay Whites, they all fucking work for AEW now. So, you know, Tanahashi's gone. There's no real promotion versus promotion match they can do for either company that would feel like a draw. So I would just do, as you said, feature a CMLL title match. I guess that would feature Claudio because he's the current champion, but you know, like Claudio versus Mystico. I don't know if they've done that yet, but like that match and some other shit from New Japan. Even if it was a New Japan talent versus a New Japan talent, the only problem with doing that sort of stuff is, will the crowd care? You know, that's the risk that you run. New Japan has not been overly hot as a product in a very long time. So if you do two of their regulars against each other for their championship, me personally, depending on who it is, I might not give a shit. Depending on who it is and excuse me, depending on who's involved and how good the match is and whatnot. CMLL, I mean, you could say the same thing a little bit. It's weird, but CMLL, even if it was people that I did not know, if it was two people on their roster that, I mean, if they were top talents, I'm sure the match would be great because their match quality in that company is really, really good. But the funny thing about CMLL is I know more about their roster at this point than I do New Japan. And I never thought I would say that, but AEW has done a really good job of showcasing people like Mystico on their show, Persephone, Hechicero, Commander, right? Commander's under an AEW contract. No, there was someone else. I thought there was someone else that was under a dual contract, but I know more about their roster and some of the stars they have than the shit that I've seen in New Japan over the last year. So I do like that idea though. Fernando said, did you and Alexis watch and enjoy the Oscars? No, because I was watching Revolution. So, couldn't watch both. Chose Revolution. Thought Revolution was great. I did catch up on the highlights from the Oscars on Twitter during the show and after the fact. She was more interested in the red carpet outfits, and she liked that. But, no, we did not watch the Oscars this year. We did watch it last year. Did not watch it this year. Do I want to see Dom versus Penta again? Fuck no, I don't. I'm done with that. The matches are good, but like we need to move on. Thank you, Fernando. We said I enjoyed your review of Hoppers. Thank you. I did put up a quick short on that for those interested. The latest Pixar movie and why I think it's the best Pixar movie in the last 10 years. I put it up here on the channel and all my social media shit. So go out and check that out. It's only like a minute and a half. Nathaniel said I might be Ghostface for Halloween this year. It's in my closet. Very cool. Are Priest and Truth winning the tag team titles? They probably will, and what a fucking embarrassment. I like Priest. I like Truth. I don't really care about them as a team, to be honest. I know the casuals do, and that's what they care about, but I mean, it comes at the expense of an actual tag team division they actually did have on SmackDown at one point. I know it's amazing to, it's shocking to hear that, but they did have an actual tag team division on that show at one point a year ago. That was great. And now they're just burying all these teams at the expense of another makeshift team. But yes, they will probably win the tag team titles, because why the fuck not? Even though I personally do not care. Grunt said, I think there's just as much money in seeing the AEW and IWGP champions teaming up as there is to see them fight each other. At this point, yes, you would be right. Am I enjoying the Rhea and Jade promos? No, I'm not. They're not bad, but they're not, like, great. The last 2 exchanges they have had were fine. They have not been anything remotely interesting. Not nearly as interested as I was in their social media beef. Whether it was real or not, I don't give a fuck. Just give me more shit talking. That's why I like the Punk and Roman stuff by and large. It's because it's just shit talking. That is what gets you excited for a fight, for a match, for anything. It's the fucking shit talking and knowing they don't like each other. Just saying, I'm that bitch, is such fucking contrived bullshit that WWE does way too often. Emmanuel said, ironically, just saw a video about how much The Rock was lobbying for an Oscar nomination for The Smashing Machine, only for the movie to only get a Best Makeup nom. I mean, The Rock lobbies for every movie that he's in, and he lobbies for an Oscar nomination for Jumanji 5. I mean, I'm not shocked, but it is funny how The Rock... I mean, first of all, I thought the movie was good. I thought the movie was really good. I thought his performance was great. But, I mean, it wasn't, like, Oscar-worthy. It was Oscar-worthy for The Rock to do something different and to try it and really do well at it. The performance in general, compared to Rock's other performances, sure, it was Oscar-worthy for him. Oscar-worthy compared to all these other movies that came out last year? Yeah, no, it was never going to win. Oh, Dorada. That's who I was missing. Mascara Dorada. A current top tenor for me as well. Big fan. The guy's great. He was involved, I know that was a massive favorite match of yours, Grunt, but he was involved in that Takeshita Okada 3-way at All Out last year. That was tremendous. He just had a match with Andrade on Collision last week. That was excellent. Yeah, so he's really, really good. That's what I'm saying. The CMLL roster, I mean, when they were having all those matches on Ring of Honor TV, I didn't give a fuck. I mean, they were having matches against each other. They were literally the same matches week after week after week. And it was all fucking like 50-year-old guys that have been... I mean, MLW did the same thing. And it was hard to care. But then they start focusing on the younger talent they have over there and putting those people on AEW television and on Ring of Honor TV. And what do you know? It worked. Nathaniel said, yes, Scream is one of your favorite scary movies. Or is Scream one of your favorite scary movies? One of my favorites... I don't know if I would say it's one of my favorites, but it's a great movie. I just never had the nostalgic attachment to Scream that many did. I mean, I didn't grow up on it. I only saw it for the first time in full, like, 8 years ago. Movie's excellent, but honestly, I enjoy watching, like, the Friday the 13th movies more. I enjoy watching the Halloween movies more. I think, though, I get more enjoyment out of those, even though they're worse. Is Tiffany Stratton versus Julia the right decision for these two at Mania? I think so. Yeah. It gets them on the card. I mean, what else would you do with Tiffany? I would even maybe put Chelsea Green in there. I wouldn't mind that. She's great. She deserves a Mania spot. If she doesn't get it, oh well. But it gets Julia on the show. It gets the Women's United States Championship on the show. If that report was true, and they do want at least 5 or 6 women's matches at Mania, which, first of all, I'd be shocked if they actually did do that, and I hope they do, then you have enough room to do Tiffany and Julia. So yes, I think that's the right direction for both women. And it's also a first-time ever match, I think, and it would be really good if they get the time to, have a proper match and tell a proper story. Grunt said, legit, the only AEW versus New Japan match I'm interested in at this point is FTR versus the Knockout Brothers. Yeah, I've heard about the Knockout Brothers. I don't know if I've seen them. I know WWE was interested, and they said no. Which was funny. The Knockout Brothers, not WWE. They said, hey, fuck that, we're staying put. I know nothing about them other than the fact they've gotten some buzz online, and I know they're good enough to where I know that match would be great because I also know how great FTR is. So I would probably agree with you. I don't even know who else is even on the New Japan roster at this point. Genuinely. I mean, so many people have fucking left that company. Takahashi was another one in the last month or two. They have lost so much talent that it's like, who's even left for any of those matches to be considered remotely appealing, So that match would be good, though. Prayers for Conan, Fernando says. Yeah, I heard that he wasn't doing well. Now I don't know, but I had heard that like a week or two ago. Did he get worse or something? That's not good. Hopefully he does pull through, though. I forgot what he was dealing with specifically. I don't know if it was a heart issue. I don't remember. Were the women represented well at Revolution? They actually were. I mean, do I think Shafir and Storm needed to be on the show? I genuinely don't. I know I say they could have saved it for Dynamite. Technically, they did because they're just doing a rematch on Dynamite this week. I think in a no-holds-barred match or whatever. But the only reason they did that match on the show was so Ronda Rousey could show up afterward. That was legit the only reason why that made the card. I'm really glad that between the pre-show and the main card, they had 4 women's matches, which I think is an AEW record. Now, the matches weren't great overall. None of them really were above very good. I thought Storm and Shafir was good. I still don't give a shit about Shafir, but it was a good, decent match. Willow and Lana Cross in the pre-show was fine. It told the story of Willow injuring her shoulder so she could lose the tag titles later on, which was the right call. But the tag title match also wasn't anything more than fine. And then the best match of all the women's matches on the show was Tekla and Statlander, which I thought was only just really good. I didn't think it was a great match. I thought their last strap match on television was better. And the crowd didn't really seem to care all that much. And it was a 2 out of 3 falls match, which was a nice stip. But it's like they went just as long in 3 falls that I think their strap match did on Dynamite a month ago. So that was also a mistake, too. Richie, what's going on, brother? He said, 1 like, 1 less Ronda Rousey appearance. Well, then keep liking the video, guys. Keep liking the video. We need less Ronda Rousey. Sup, Richie? Hope you're doing well. Emmanuel said, I've seen people accuse Rhea Ripley of phoning it in for the Jade feud since she's also been passive-aggressive about being a single star again. Interesting theory. I don't think Rhea is going to phone it in because she's like, oh, I want to continue teaming with Rhea. I'm going to be a baby about that. I mean, honestly, if anything, this is it's an upgrade because she's back to being on her own. And the EO stuff was great. Don't get me wrong. But like, she would actually be able to win a fucking world title again through this program. I thought you were going to say something different. Is she phoning it in because she's away from EO? No, I think that would be stupid. If that was true, that would just be dumb. Do I think she's phoning it in because she doesn't really want to work with Rhea or Jade rather, and they're not like best friends, and they're not like she doesn't like Jade? That's possible. I don't know if it's a Rhea issue, a Jade issue, or a writing issue, or all 3. But what we've gotten so far on television has not been anything out of the ordinary at all. I can't even say disappointing, because I even literally said from the get-go, if they do that match, it does not fucking interest me. And so far, it still doesn't. The only aspect of it that I thought was interesting was the shit talking on Twitter. They stopped doing that, and they have not gone back to it since, unfortunately. Grunt said, I do like a handful of guys in New Japan, but yeah, most of them don't have the same name value of Okada, Ospreay, or Tanahashi just yet. There is potential there, though. I've heard that. I'm not saying their roster is shit. I'm just saying, like you said, their roster just doesn't have any star power, I guess is the right word. I have seen some people that do have potential, but New Japan just has to capitalize on them and actually build upon those stars and not focus so much on the aging vets that are now gone, like Naito and Tanahashi. Takahashi's not like an aging vet, but he's a lot older than some of the other people they have there now. Fernando said, did I enjoy the way the Texas Death Match ended? I did, actually. I thought it was a nice nod to the fact that MJF beat Hangman the exact same way that Hangman beat Moxley to win that championship in the first place at All In last year. That, and what was the other nod? The syringe shit is garbage. I think the syringe shit is gross. But I like the idea, and I assume this was intentional, that they did that spot. MJF even said, oh yeah, like it's cool when you do it, but when I do it, it's a problem, whatever. He even literally said that into the camera. But I like the idea, the story, that Adam Page is now having to suffer for his sins and doing everything that he did to other people is now being done to him. And he lost. And I thought that was a good story. So I did like the ending. Will Ospreay needs to win the AEW World Championship at All In, right? I don't know if he needs to. Listen, first of all, I think he will, and he probably should. Need is a strong word because AEW's world title scene is so fucking stacked. And there are so many people you could put in that picture that we might not even be thinking of. Like, I know the obvious options of like Swerve, Omega, Osprey. But you could, I mean, I know we've already seen MJF and Bandito, MJF and Brody King. You could do, I know people don't like Darby. Darby and MJF have history. And I don't think they've run it back one-on-one since that great full gear match they had 5 years ago. Now, do I think Darby will be the one to beat MJF? No, but they could go back to that. They could go back to MJF versus Mark Briscoe. I think Briscoe is the last person to beat MJF. Actually, that's not true. MJF lost to Brody King on Dynamite a few months ago, or about a month or so ago. So not that, but he is one of the last people to beat MJF. That was back at, I think, Forbidden Door, or I think it was All Out, actually, that MJF lost to Briscoe on that show. They could go back to that. They could do Bobby Lashley when he comes back. Now, that sounds strange, but they never really properly paid off the MJF Hurt Business shit, Hurt Syndicate shit from last year. They could go back to that and have MJF beat him to retain the title. There's a lot of options. I like that. Andrade, I mean, listen, I don't know if they're going to, I think they did confirm it, but I've been saying this for a while now. If they do another Grand Slam, not Australia too, but if they do another Grand Slam Mexico show, how the fuck do you not put Andrade in the main event of that show for the world title? They could do MJF and Mystico again, but they kind of paid that off with Mystico beating him at CMLL last year. I would say Andrade, because Andrade should get a shot at some point. I don't think he would win, but I do think he should get another shot, and it would be cool. I mean, Swerve, shout out to Swerve. We already talked about this over text. He is not a fan of Darby getting a shot. I know Darby's facing Gabe Kidd in that casket match on Wednesday. I think Darby will probably win that, right? I know people, listen, you're not the only one, Swerve. I know Richie doesn't like Darby. I'm not saying I'm Darby's biggest fan. I'm just saying, first of all, I personally would not have an issue with Darby winning the title. Second of all, I'm not saying he needs to. And third of all, I just think it makes sense to do the match at least once, even if MJF beats him, to retain the title. They have a lot of options, is my point. They have a lot of options. And all of that to say, I'm saying that in response to if Ospreay needs to win it all in. I think that's the plan at this point, especially after he lost the Owen Hart Cup last year. He can win it this year and then win the title at All In. I think that's the story that you tell. But I'm also just saying that if there's another story that you explore instead, you go in that direction. But it's too early to say. The dog collar spot was a good MJF versus Punk callback. Yeah, and they even mentioned that too. I thought that was interesting. They mentioned that too. They didn't mention Punk, obviously, but Danielson said, MJF, throwback to his past at Revolution with dog collars. And I think Excalibur called it like a classic match or whatever, but they didn't mention Punk by name, but I thought that was cool. My top 5 Revolution matches from this past weekend. Well, Grunt also said Omega versus Ospreay at All In would feed me for years. Yeah, I mean, they do need a third match at some point, right? They had those first two a few years ago. That would imply that Ospreay is already champion by then, or Omega is champion. I mean, that's fine with me, too. That's another match. I did mention that, MJF and Omega. They need to do that again soon. But yeah, what was I going to say? Ospreay could win the title before then, or Omega's champion, either way. My top 5 Revolution matches from this weekend, I guess in no order, it would be the main event, Bandito Andrade, FTR and the Bucks, I maintain was probably the best match on the show. Brody Swerve, to Grunt's credit. I honestly would not put any of the women's matches in the top 5. I thought they were good. I didn't think any of them were great. Moxley Takeshita. Moxley Takeshita was great. I would put Brody and Swerve at 5 of all of those matches, but it was still a very good match. You know what? Honestly, I like Brody Swerve. I'm not trying to shit on it. I think I enjoyed the 6-man tag team title match more over Brody and Swerve, which I thought was really good, but the trios tag title match I thought was really good. The other trios match, the non-title match, was good, but I didn't really think that needed to be on the show. That was just like, okay, at this point, can we just fucking end this shit? It's been a long night. But the trios title match was a lot of fun. Emmanuel says, I will say about Rhea Ripley that I get a similar impression from Charlotte in that they seem genuinely happier being in the tag division at this point in their careers. I mean, yeah, for different reasons. I think Charlotte likes being in the tag division because, one, she likes working with Alexa, and two, it's because she knows when she's on her own, she gets a lot of shit. Charlotte is fucking hated. Whenever she's on her own, sometimes justifiably, but largely it's the booking. It's not really her fault most of the time. She knows being in the tag team division, people actually genuinely like Charlotte, which is kind of sad that she has to feel that way, that she belongs in the tag team division because of that. At some point, Charlotte's got to be on her own again, and that point's probably coming on the sooner side. With Rhea, it's not because on her own she does get hate, but not remotely as much as Charlotte. She just likes teaming with Io because they're like best friends. But guess what? You can't fucking team with your best friend forever. At some point, when you're a star as big as she is, Rhea's got to be on her own again at some point. And there wasn't a tag title match at Mania that made sense for Rhea and Io to have that would have justified them being in that spot. If they were going to be involved in that multi-team, the multi-team shit is fine. Rhea and Io at WrestleMania are better than that. At this point, they're both better than that. So, they should not have been involved. Fernando said, should Bandito be considered to get a world title run in the future as AEW World Champion? I think that'd be great. Do I think it's going to happen? I'm going to say the same thing I said about Brody King. I just don't. I don't see them putting the top title on Bandito. But the guy is fucking awesome. And I've always been a Bandito fan dating back to like the Ring of Honor days when they first brought him in like 2019, 2018. Bandito is awesome. So I would love to see it. I don't think that happens. Grunt said agreed both on MJF versus Darby and Darby winning the title at some point. Oh, there you go. So for everyone that doesn't like Darby, you also have those that don't really mind the idea, like Grunt. I personally would be I'm not saying Darby needs to win the belt. I'm just saying I wouldn't mind it personally. And Grunt agrees. Fernando said, how much of a gap of difference are between the AEW pay-per-views and the WWE PLEs? What do you mean, in quality? It depends on the month. The AEW pay-per-views, I didn't think World's End was that great of a show. I thought Full Gear was a really good show. I was there, so I'm kind of biased, but I didn't think World's End was a great show by their standards. Still, though, at this point in time, AEW's pay-per-views clear WWE's by a pretty wide margin. And I don't think WWE's pay-per-views are typically bad. I honestly have not seen a bad WWE PLE in a very long fucking time. It's just at this point they prioritize the ads and the commercials and all this other bullshit over the actual matches. And it's not like these shows are that important. The WWE, the AEW shows, it's not just like they have all this great wrestling. They had a lot of returns on Sunday, too. A lot of major, important developments, including in the main event, with Hangman never being able to challenge in storyline for the title again. That's a pretty newsworthy show. Elimination Chamber was a good show. It was not all that important. The Rumble was a mixed bag of a show. Had some really good stuff on it. It was important, but I thought AEW's an average AEW pay-per-view was better than the Rumble. Survivor Series was kind of lame, not a great show. WrestlePalooza was not a good show. It was fine, but it was not good. Crown Jewel was probably the best WWE PLE in the last 6 months. Not sure if it's much of a discussion, to be honest with you. If we're not counting Saturday Night Main Event installments, that was the best one. Was in the last 6 months would be Crown Jewel. Even SummerSlam was a mixed bag. WrestleMania last year was a mixed bag. But some of their pay-per-views are also great. I thought Night of Champions and Money in the Bank were fine. But Evolution was a top-tier WWE PLE, and that happened last July. Backlash last spring I thought was a top-tier fucking WWE PLE. I thought that was a great show. Elimination Chamber is one of the best B-level pay-per-views they've ever done. So, it's weird. We haven't really gotten a show like that from WWE in a while, but I know when they're on their shit, they can fucking do it. They can deliver a great show. They just got to be on their shit. That's kind of my point. AEW, I hate the length of the shows. They're just too fucking long. But at least the quality is consistently strong, and that was once again the case with Revolution. Overall, runtime aside, it was an excellent show. Best of all time or among the best ever? We'll get to that momentarily. So I guess we'll kind of get into it. I think we finished all the live chats here. We'll go back to the live chat in a little bit. I am going to answer these scheduled questions, and then we'll go back to the chat as we wrap up. So let's pull up the questions here. Oh, I got to scroll back up. Hold on. Got to scroll back up. As we always do, we will go through these scheduled questions here, and then when we are done, we will go back to the chat. So stay with me. Send some questions in the chat, comments, reactions, whatever, to my answers to the following questions, and I'll go back to the chat in a little bit when we finish up here. Jordan B. from YouTube asked, do you think the women's match will main event at NXT Stand and Deliver this year? I think there's a pretty decent chance. What would the women's match even be, though? I know JC Jane is defending tonight against Sol Ruca and Zarya. I don't think JC Jane's losing on NXT television. I think she'll probably lose it, if anything, at Stand and Deliver. Very likely to Kendall Gray. So JC and Kendall Gray, their first match was good. So the rematch headlining would be fine. Ruka and Zarya headlining I could see, because that story's been going on for fucking forever now. So that's possible. What else? They might have another women's match, but I don't know. That feels like either of those matches could main event. What is going to be the men's title match? Joe Hendry, Ricky Saints, and Ethan Page, maybe a four-way with Miles Bourne. That could feasibly main event. I'm not saying it can't or wouldn't or shouldn't. I'm just saying I think the women could main event. Do I think they will? I'm going to say no. I feel like they will close with another multi-man title match at Stand and Deliver this year for the men's NXT Championship, but it's definitely possible. His second question, what is your favorite underrated Jeff Hardy match? For me, it was his Extreme Rules match against The Undertaker on the November 14th, 2008 edition of SmackDown. I remember him cutting a promo against The Undertaker in some dark hallway on that episode. At 9 years old, I couldn't believe Jeff Hardy had beaten The Undertaker cleanly. Yeah, that was a very good match. I remember that match. I think I was grounded at that point, so I had to watch it a few days after the fact, but I do remember that match, and Hardy winning clean was cool. My favorite underrated Hardy match, honestly, a lot of them might come from TNA, like matches you wouldn't remember or think of. Like, he's had some quality matches in TNA with Austin Aries, Bobby Roode, Bobby Lashley. I think those were pretty underrated. In WWE, the ones that I can think of, I don't know if it's considered underrated. I've always really liked his I Quit match with Matt Hardy from Extreme Rules 2009. That might be my favorite I Quit match, period. I love that whole show, Backlash '09, but I really liked that I Quit match with him and Matt on that show. Their Mania match was also really good. The no disqualification match that Matt won. They had a stretcher match on SmackDown that was good. The matches during that feud were really good. He had a Raw main event on my birthday, actually, in 2008. It was my 13th birthday, and I had a baseball game that night, but I went back and watched Raw when I got home. And much to my surprise, the main event was a first time, and I think only time ever match between Jeff Hardy and John Cena, with the winner earning an opportunity at the WWE title and Night of Champions. From what I remember about that match, that was very good. I enjoyed that match. The CM Punk matches were great, but those aren't really underrated. The Edge matches in early 09 weren't really great. Trying to think of what else from that period. He had some good matches with Jeff Jarrett and TNA in 2011 that were decent. I think they had a 2 out of 3 falls match and actually, you know what? Here's an underrated one for you. I think he had a World Heavyweight Championship match on SmackDown with John Morrison in the summer of 09. He had just won the world title, did Hardy. And I think he defended against Morrison right after Morrison kind of broke off on his own from Miz. And that was a really good match too. So I might put that on the list. Nike Fan 01, thoughts on Revolution? I already said this several times already, but really good show. I thought Revolution was great. I will get to whether I thought it was among the best ever. That was a different question, but I did think Revolution was a great show. I said this earlier, but I think the run times are just getting more fucking egregious. I know it wasn't as big of an issue being there in person because, it's on the West Coast, so it started earlier. But especially on a Sunday, it's like, man, fuck you. These shows are great, but they should not be ending East Coast time at 12:30. I know, people in the UK could say, oh, well, we've been dealing with it for years. I get it, but at least that's been normal for decades. I just don't really think it does. Even sitting in the building for 5 or 6 hours, I think is just way too fucking much. Listen, I was there at Full Gear in November. That was on the East Coast. Even that was a Saturday show. That was fucking long. And I will keep saying that until it's not an issue anymore. But the rest of the show was great. I did think it was a really strong show, and I enjoyed it. His second question, AEW is doing some good wrestling right now. Do you think they can take over, or if they can overtake WWE and start a new era similar to something of the Attitude Era? No. They're never going to overtake WWE. They just don't have the same structure that WWE does. They also don't have a 50-year head start that WWE does. They will never, unless something drastically awful were to happen in WWE in its current hierarchy of officials and shit, AEW will never overtake WWE. That doesn't mean it can't be a great alternative, though, which it currently is. Start a new era. I mean, we kind of already in that era. We've been in that era since AEW started. The era of having more than just one major promotion to watch and enjoy and look forward to. I mean, TNA kind of gave us that for a little while in the 2000s and briefly in the 2010s, but we didn't have that for a long time until AEW came around. I don't think AEW is going to become all of a sudden this white-hot product to the point where we get this all-new era in wrestling. We're kind of already in that, where people go back and forth, fans go back and forth, the quality goes back and forth. Because there's plenty of times where WWE is doing great and AEW is kind of lacking and not doing great shit. And then there's times like right now where WWE's incredibly inconsistent and AEW is doing great shit. So I wouldn't go quite that far. I would just enjoy AEW for what it is and not get too drastic like TNA did in 2010 by saying, oh, let's go head-to-head with WWE, and then they fail miserably. Emmanuel A., who was here in the chat earlier, said, probably too late to send in a question. It wasn't. But he said, how much have you seen of Stone Cold's 2001 heel run? Specifically, have you ever seen the Raw and SmackDown segments he had during that time? I'm familiar enough with it from the pay-per-view matches he had, and he actually put together a really strong series of matches on pay-per-view that year with like Benoit and Jericho and Angle, among other people, as the WWE champion before losing it in September. His character work was actually very good, to the point where like he was entertaining. Now, I remember the Angle segments with him wearing the fucking cowboy hat and shit. That might be my favorite Stone Cold moment of all time. The stupid little red cowboy hat, that shit was so fucking funny, and I still laugh at that to this day. I think the biggest issue with the Stone Cold heel run was that when he turned heel, it was a massive moment. The follow-up kind of sucked. I mean, he was champion for a while, but they never revisited the Rock stuff, at least until 2003, and then by that point, Austin was a babyface again and Rock was a heel. They never really properly had a babyface Rock heel Austin feud over the world title because Rock disappeared to go film his movies, and they didn't really have anyone else to replace Austin in that role as the top babyface of the company. Rock was gone. Angle was that guy briefly, but he wasn't the guy. Benoit wasn't the guy. Jericho wasn't the guy. They didn't really have the guy. So they were kind of in a tough spot. It also coincided with the WCW shit, which was just terribly handled. So the timing wasn't ideal. The execution wasn't well done. But it's not as if that entire heel run sucked. It had plenty of highlights, especially in the ring. It's just that it wasn't exactly what people were expecting, I think, from when it happened at WrestleMania 17. And he aligned with Vince, and it didn't really, that was kind of the peak of it. And they also had the two-man power trip, which was cool too, with him and Triple H. And that was also quickly derailed because Triple H got hurt like a month later. Noel's second question. First and foremost, happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Thank you, Noel. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you as well. I know you were here in the chat earlier. They said, do you see Liv Morgan winning the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania 42? I do. Stephanie, I love Stephanie. Her reign's been decent. It's been mediocre. Average even. I think she should lose it at Mania. Honestly, if only to benefit Stephanie. I think she might do better in chase mode. She wasn't really in chase mode for long. She won the title pretty fucking quickly upon being called up. So I would actually have Liv won. If Stephanie wins, that's great. But I don't think she will, and I don't really think she needs to. Their second question, do you see Roxanne Perez teaming with Finn Balor, or do you see Roxanne slowly turning on the Judgment Day when she comes back? I think Roxanne sticks in the Judgment Day. There's another Judgment Day question coming up later on. But no, I don't think, I mean, Finn and Roxanne versus, Liv and Raquel, and then Dom and JD, it's already uneven. That doesn't make sense. I know Finn brought Roxanne into the Judgment Day, but she's been a lot closer with Liv the last few months than she was with Finn. So I'm going to say when Roxanne's cleared and ready to come back, she'll be back in the Judgment Day with everyone else. Christopher L., what's going on, my man? He said, howdy, Graham. Hope everything is going well. Opened up a can of whoop ass on 316 Day and had a fine weekend. He says, I wasn't able to watch Revolution since I was too focused on the Academy Awards, which actually went really well. I heard how the how great the opening match between FTR and the Bucks were, which is not a surprise since they put on a quality match anytime they were in the ring together. All the returns from Omega and especially Ospreay was wild, and the main event was insane, even if the run times have worn out a certain portion of the fan base. Agreed on all. He said, overall, on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rank this Revolution, and do you consider it one of the best pay-per-views they've ever done according to some fans? To answer that question right off the bat, no. I think there are pay-per-views they've done far better than the one they did on Sunday. I did think it was an excellent show. I don't think it was the best Revolution they've ever done, and I don't think it was one of their best shows ever. Honestly, Revolution alone, I think the 2024 Revolution, for the main event alone, was a better show overall than what we got on Sunday. Now, I do think Revolution overall this year was better than Revolution last year. Revolution last year was great up until that terrible main event. And this year had a better main event. So I think Revolution this year was better. Revolution, it was probably better than Revolution 2023, which was also a good show. Revolution 2022 I thought was great. I think that might have been better than the one we saw on Sunday, which also had some surprises with Regal showing up and Swerve and whatever. Revolution 2021 was good, and Revolution 2020 was also great. So I would not say it was one of the best pay-per-views in AEW history. I mean, I feel like we say that after most of their shows, which is nice because all of their shows are really good. But that's not to say that all of their pay-per-views are the best ever. So I'm going to say no. On one hand alone, I could tell you Revolution 2024 was better. All In 2024 was better. All In last year was better. All Out 2021 was better. Double or Nothing 2019, I don't know if I'd go that far, but that was a very special show. Revolution 2020 was also a very special show too. And I don't know if I'd put that over the one that we saw on Sunday, but it's up there. Full Gear 2021 was great. Revolution 2022 was great. All Out 2023 was kind of a sleeper show, but that was a really good show. All In 2023, I don't know if I would say that was one of their best ever, but I would say a lot of the shows I just mentioned were better than the one that we saw on Sunday. But that doesn't make Sunday any less of a great show. Out of 10, I would probably say an 8. Maybe even 8.5. It was a really, really good show. I hate the fucking runtime, like you said. That's my biggest knock on it, and it's not like every match on that show on Sunday was a banger. There were some that I could have done without. So I'll probably go 8, highest 8.5. If you say 9, I get it, but I would probably go between 8 and 9. He says, what are your thoughts on the awful incident down at Ohio Valley Wrestling with the referee having the seizure and the severe lack of professionalism and courtesy of the wrestlers involved? Do you think Al Snow handled the aftermath poorly, and how big of a permanent black eye this will give the promotion? The whole thing was a fucking embarrassment. I've seen all the statements from the company, from Al Snow, from the wrestlers, from the guy involved that suffered the seizure, who was being really cool about it and saying like, hey, I don't need the money, don't blame anyone. Well, listen, I do blame the people involved. I absolutely blame the people involved and the company for not doing more. I mean, the guy was fucking seizing up in the middle of the ring for a good 30 seconds before anyone ran out to do anything. But they got to get their shit in, so they're still doing the fucking match. And obviously mistakes happen. But there were so many things that went wrong there that could have been done better. And it wasn't just one person, it was multiple people. The whole thing is fucking embarrassing and makes it look like some outlaw mud show promotion, which it probably already was anyway. Yeah, very bad look for OVW. That whole thing was an embarrassment. The fact that shit continues to happen just goes to show how fucking dumb some wrestlers are. I mean, seriously, not the entire industry, but there's so many wrestlers that are just stupid, that'll have you think otherwise, that'll think you're stupid because it's like, oh, you're not in the business, how would you know how to handle this? You don't know what a fucking seizure looks like? Come on, man. I understand that the person normally in those situations that would take care of that sort of thing is the referee, and he's out, so I get it. But when you have to kick the guy to the side, as he's seizing up is pretty fucking bad. And he tried to, defend himself. Just, you know what? Fuck you. Just shut the fuck up and take the L. It was really bad. So, they deserve all the flack they get for that shit. I don't know how that sort of stuff still happens. The fact that he's had a seizure is, crazy. And I don't blame, the guy who hurt him in the first place, again, shit happens. Whatever. I'm just saying that the fact that nothing was done about it for so long is what makes it so embarrassing. His next question, what do you think so far of Birthright, the new NXT heel stable made up of entitled second, third generation wrestlers? I don't mind it, even though it's basically Legacy 2.0 with more members. I've said in the past, I am not a Brian Pillman Jr. fan because I feel the guy has no charisma and he's boring to watch in the ring. Stacks is really good. I disagree with that. Stacks is... whatever you said about Alexis King, Stacks is absolutely fucking boring, but I understand your opinion. He said he's only marrying into Santino's family, so he doesn't really fit into this group. I love Ariana, so she's perfect for this, but Uriah Connors feels really forced into this. I mean, it's better than him being in fucking Chase U. A good wrestler, but a personality crusher, which makes me glad David Finlay didn't go to WWE because he works with the group. Oh, I'm sorry, because you can sure as hell bet he would have been Uriah's spot. Lastly, Charlie Dempsey is in this group after that turn you could see 1,000 yards away from last week. And he works with the group since he's a better heel than a face and can add some legitimacy to a group that doesn't have too much of it. Again, I don't mind it, but Pillman Jr. should not be the leader. What are your thoughts? Do you think the group could have mileage on their run? And do you think NXT has way too many heel stables to the point that none of them really feel important to or special anymore? I mean, NXT is, just all of wrestling, there's too many factions. I don't think that's exclusive to NXT. I like the idea of the group. I don't know how successful they'll be. The whole thing, it does feel like a watered-down Legacy. It just feels like a mid-card jobber group. It doesn't feel like it's main event material. Will Lexis King honestly be challenging for the NXT fucking championship at this point? I mean, I don't think so. I don't even know if he could. Would anyone even care? Would people even take that seriously? I don't know. David Finlay would not have been in Uriah's spot. David Finlay just would have been in the group. I mean, Uriah Connors would have been in the group regardless with his brother. David Finlay would have been leading the group. Of everyone in the group, Lexis King probably makes the most sense to be leading it. I know what you said about him, but Stacks is fucking boring as shit, so it can't be him. Ariana's not leading the group. Charlie Dempsey, sure, but we already saw him leading No Quarter Catch Crew for so long. It's basically the same thing. And Uriah Connors isn't a leader either, so it kind of has to be Alexis King. I like the group. We'll see what happens with it. If Regal and Finlay are more involved, then that's cool. I don't really see this being anything more than a different version of the No Quarter Catch Crew. NXT is the king of having like mid-card stables. They tried so desperately to recreate the next Undisputed Era, and none of them have really worked. So I'm intrigued, but I'm not like overly optimistic that this Birthright group will be anything more than just mid-card fodder. Which member of Toxic Attraction had the better women's title reign, he asks. Mandy Rose or JC Jane? Mandy Rose has more personality, better presence, better mic skills, but JC Jane's had much better matches. Mandy Rose, I enjoyed her run. It was the best thing Mandy Rose ever did in WWE by a pretty wide margin. But JC Jane, to her credit, I'm still not the biggest JC Jane fan. I think her promos have improved. I still don't think she's overly interesting. I think in the main roster, she's kind of fucked. I feel like she's not going to be booked well at all. She won't be utilized well. I feel like she'll get lost in the shuffle in 10 seconds. That being said, I will probably go with JC Jane. I feel like she has improved a lot. She's beaten some notable names. She's had some really good matches. Mandy, her character stuff was good, and I love Toxic Attraction, but her matches weren't really that good. She had a couple stinkers with Kaylee Ray. That 4-way at Stand and Deliver, I remember being good, but like, what else has she done? I don't remember any real standout matches during that run that made me think, oh my God, Mandy Rose was this great champion. She had some good matches, but JC Jane has had better matches. So honestly, I might go with JC Jane. His next question, Rhea Ripley is not only the most over female wrestler in the wrestling business, but also one of the most over pro wrestlers in the whole business. However, I've thought a lot about this before. Which role suits her better? The heel or the face? As a babyface, he gets to show, or she gets to show off more of her real-life personality. A charming, affable, and ditzy woman. As a heel, she's cold-blooded, cocky, nasty, and someone with a just calculated and killer instinct. I love her in both roles, so it's actually hard for me to pick the right one. What about you? Which Rhea do you prefer, the cold-blooded killer heel or the easy-to-root-for affable babyface? Well, I'm a Rhea Ripley fan regardless. I think she's great. She's the perfect fan favorite right now because people love her and she's really likable, so I get it. But of the two roles, she is a much better heel. Rhea as a heel is just a fucking bitch. And, honestly, you wouldn't even have to look at her Judgment Day work to know that. She was a great bitch character when she was in NXT UK. Now, when she got to NXT, she went back to being a babyface. But in NXT UK, she was a fucking see you next Tuesday. So I'm going to go heel by far. As a face, she's great. But she does her better character work as a heel, in my opinion. And she would not have the fanfare that she does currently if it wasn't for her heel work to begin with. Next question, who has left a bigger impact on professional wrestling in the present day wrestling scene? Bret the Hitman Hart or Rey Mysterio? Ooh, that's a good question. Who left a bigger impact on professional wrestling in the present day wrestling scene? It's got to be Rey Mysterio. Bret's fantastic. Bret's overall better than Rey as an overall package. But Rey, his like cruiserweight style and kind of Americanizing the Lucha Libre style and bringing that over to the main stage. It's not like Bret Hart really revolutionized wrestling as far as his in-ring style. It was incredible, but it wasn't like, I don't know. I mean, he did have a massive impact as far as making Vince look at the smaller guys such as him and Shawn as world champions. But Rey Mysterio, man, I mean, there is so much Lucha influence in all of these companies today, and he's so fucking over even still. I mean, they bought AAA to WWE. I could see the case being made for Bret, and this might be a dumb answer. I'm going to go Rey Mysterio. I feel like more people grew up watching Rey. I mean, a lot of people grew up watching Bret, too. A lot of people grew up watching Bret. But just even people that don't do the Lucha shit grew up watching Rey, felt like they could connect with him, and became fans and got into the business because of that. Not that Bret didn't create new fans. He definitely did. I don't know. Bret, you see his influence in people like Punk and FTR and people like that. I see Rey in almost every Penta, Phoenix, fucking Dragon Lee match, and in AEW. I'm going to go Rey Mysterio. Let me just move my camera real quick. Hold on. So you can read the last couple of questions here. Hold on. Bam. Okay. We will finish out these Twitter questions. At Uagu91 from Twitter asked, with Hangman being a victim of MJF contributing to, one, never vying for the AEW World title again, do you think that unlike Cody Rhodes, he will go back on his word down the road? Not anytime soon, mind you. I do. If Adam Page stays in that company, he will need to go back on his word at some point. He cannot stay at the upper mid-card level forever. We saw how well that worked out for fucking Cody Rhodes. Unless Adam Page leaves the company, which is not impossible. I've been saying that for a while now. I don't think he leaves, but I think there's actually a better chance than people think that there is of him leaving to go to WWE, just because in AEW he's done it all. And also to challenge himself. But yes, I do think he'll go back on it eventually, unlike Cody, which is probably for the better. His next question, since AEW Dynasty will happen in Canada, do you think that'll be the perfect way for Speedball Mike Bailey to have round 3 against Kyle Fletcher and win the TNT title from the Proto Star? That would be great. I feel like we've gotten so many fucking TNT title changes in the last few months. I mean, Adam Cole had to vacate it. So Dustin Rhodes won it for like 2 weeks. Kyle Fletcher won it. And then Kyle Fletcher held it for like 3 months, lost it to Mark Briscoe in November. Briscoe was champion for only like 2 months, lost it to Ciampa, who held it for 2 weeks, lost it to Fletcher. And now you're saying to put it on Bailey. I mean, it's a little too much, but that would make sense. I mean, their last 2 matches were excellent. If Bailey is the one to beat him for that belt, I would have no complaints. And they'll be in Canada, so it would be cool. So I'm not expecting it, but that would make sense. And I hope they do that. His third question, even with Finn Balor kicked out of the Judgment Day, do you think the faction is still on borrowed time? Yes, and they should be. I mean, the Judgment Day has been going on now for 4 fucking years. There's still some mileage in there, but when you take out people like Finn, they took out Finn and Rhea, Damian and Rhea, the group has not been the same. They got to move on. I mean, now that Finn's out of the group, they really should be closing it down, winding it down, coming out of Mania. Will they? Probably not. But they fucking should. I mean, when I hear the Judgment Day, I like the group, but it's like, ugh, how many times can we continue to tease tension? And we're going to kick out a member or bring in a new member. It should not be around for the next decade like Bullet Club was. No one enough is enough and then move on. So I do think, yes, the faction is still on borrowed time. Hopefully by the end of the year, the group is done. But I'm not confident it'll be the case. At millennial_noob from Twitter. Last question for the episode. What are your thoughts on Ronda Rousey's debut at AEW Revolution last night? The reaction from fans on social media is pretty much negative. I guess we'll see in the coming weeks. I already discussed this at the beginning of the episode, but real quick, I am intrigued. I was shocked when I saw her. I'm intrigued to see what she'll do. Do I want Ronda Rousey in AEW? No. Do I think the run will end up being that good? I don't. Does she really benefit AEW? Not really. But I am intrigued to see how different Ronda Rousey comes across and how she's booked, how she wrestles in AEW. I don't know if she's in for one match, if she's on for a full-on run. I have no interest in that. There's other women they have under contract I'd rather see more of before fucking Ronda Rousey at this point. But I am intrigued to see how this compares to her last WWE run. Her first WWE run was great. Her second one kind of sucked. So I'm kind of curious to see how this compares to that. If she can show, hey, it was the creative that was the problem, and, I can do some great shit and whatever. I don't know. We'll see. I feel like this is just one giant tool to promote her upcoming fight that I don't really give a fuck about personally. But I feel like that's the only reason why we're seeing this, and Tony Khan thinks Ronda Rousey is still some sort of a star, so she'll bring more eyes to their product. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think she will bring a single set of eyeballs to the product, and if she does, it would be very temporary. But beyond that, we'll see how it goes. I said that earlier, but we will see how it goes. I am not a Ronda Rousey fan at all at this point. I don't give a fuck about the woman, but I am curious to see how this goes. And if it's a disaster, it should be fun to follow. So we'll see what happens. All right, so that does it for the scheduled questions. We will bring back up your questions. Hold on. Bada bing, bada boom. Pull up the chat now. What were you guys saying here in the chat? Hold on. The chat's not open here on the screen. It is now. All right, cool. All right. What grade do I give the build for Mania so far? C. It's not been good. It's been very inconsistent. For every Punk Roman promo and like the Orton Rhodes thing that we got on SmackDown, there's a lot of shit that feels thrown together, and the Oba Brock stuff too was great. But for every one of those segments, you have 5 more where it feels like, what the fuck what are they doing? Like, is this supposed to be Mania? Like, I mean, the shows haven't been SmackDown last week sucked. Raw last night I thought was overall good, but it's such a mixed bag. I don't give a shit about the Grande stuff. So many other people feel like they're directionless or don't have matches at Mania. It's a mess, man. It's a fucking mess. So I'm going to go C, C-. It can improve. They have time to improve it, but I'm not overly optimistic. Grunt said, I love how brutal Swerve Brody was without involving weapons, and Danielson's commentary about both being so dangerous because of how much they know to use the ring as a weapon. Yeah, that's good commentary from Danielson. It was a good match. I liked the match. I wouldn't be opposed to a rematch, but we'll probably go into Swerve and Omega instead. Daniel said to you via text, but Roman and Punk missed the landing. Yeah, I mean, listen, I enjoyed the exchange overall. The ending was a dud. The whole "you're old" thing, and then they're like, okay, then he punches him out of that. It was dumb. But the segment overall was entertaining. It was the weakest of all 3 promos they've had so far together. Not to say it was bad. It was entertaining overall, but not their best. Hopefully they can rebound. I think they're both on the show next week. So hopefully they can rebound, but we'll see. Fernando said, nobody thought WCW would take over WWE in the 90s, and it temporarily did for 80-something weeks. No, I know, but WWE at that point was, I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's not remotely the same thing. Wrestling is structured so fucking differently these days. I mean, not only that, but WWE, I mean, we talk about now how they're in a rut creatively. They're making more money now than ever before. That was not the case in the 90s. WWE was on the verge of fucking bankruptcy in the mid-90s. I mean, WCW fired their ass, lit a fire under their ass, but it's not like WWE was excelling at that point when WCW caught up to them. WWE financially currently is excelling. Even 15 years ago, they were excelling more than they were in the 90s, even when the product was garbage. I mean, WWE is just such a much bigger company than AEW in literally every fashion. You can say AEW is better than WWE quality-wise. I mean, that would not be inaccurate currently. I'm just saying, as far as will they ever catch up and deliver higher ratings, AEW has shown no real significant sustained growth. I mean, their ratings have just gone down, and they've been around for 7 years. I mean, WCW as a company was around for a little while, but like when Nitro started, they were only, like, they had that fresh feel to them. AEW is not a fresh feel. They've been around for 7 years now. It's just not the same thing. Their best chance of ever really catching up, quote unquote, to WWE was in like 2021. Maybe 2020 had COVID not hit, but especially in 2021 when the WWE shit sucked and Vince was still there and AEW had a lot of momentum. And then Triple H took over WWE. The brawl out shit happened, and that fucked up AEW for a long time. They're never going to catch up. Business-wise, they will never catch up. But I guess anything's possible. Emmanuel said, I made my question short in case I didn't make it, but there's a big shift in Austin's heel run where it got more into comedy segments after Triple H got injured. They used to beat up JR and Lita for heat. Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, that's kind of what I was alluding to. But, like, he was a great heel, like a vicious fucking heel, which is what Stone Cold wanted to be coming out of Mania. Triple H got hurt, he went more into comedy. Maybe he knew that the vicious heel thing wouldn't be sustainable, or he wasn't digging it, or it wasn't getting over. I don't know. The comedy stuff was fucking funny, though. So it is interesting how much of a shift there was creatively with Austin's heel turn to no one, as you mentioned, Emmanuel. Fernando said, who gets more credit for the popularity of the early UFC, Ronda or Conor? That's a good question. Who gets more credit? That's a better question for RJ. I would save that for RJ on Thursday. In my opinion, what is early UFC? I would go Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, to me, put a lot more eyes on UFC. Like, I didn't really even know what UFC even was until Brock got there. And not because of the wrestling connection either, just because of the shit that he was doing in the box office draw that he was in, like, the late 2000s, early 2010s. Ronda was the next big boom star for them in like the early 2010s. And then Conor McGregor, like after even she was gone. I feel like, I feel like they all were kind of big at different points. I feel like they were all important to UFC at different points. Conor after Ronda. And then for Ronda, I would say probably Ronda because Ronda ended up being a bigger star. I mean, she was in movies. She was a fucking pop culture icon there for a little while. Not that Conor wasn't, but Conor didn't do as much. He wasn't as much of a crossover star as Ronda Rousey was, and technically still is. I mean, I shit on Ronda, but it's true. Fernando said, what if Conor McGregor signed with WWE shortly after the Floyd Mayweather fight? I think it would have been big for them. I mean, we talked about that at the time, and it would have been interesting because he was such a big star at that point. Ronda, I mean, even after she lost in UFC those 2 times, she was still a big enough star to when she showed up in WWE, it was a big fucking deal. If Conor was dedicated to WWE shit and didn't phone it in, and he was as entertaining in WWE as he was in like the press shit for WWE or for UFC rather, I think it could have worked. I mean, it could have been. I feel like it would have either been really entertaining or it just would have been awful. I think that would have been fun to follow though. I mean, especially at that point, they could have used a star of his caliber. Luckily, they got Ronda when they did. Fernando said, worst creative flop, Cena's final year or the invasion angle WWE versus WCW? I got to go the invasion angle. I know people like to say Cena's final year was just like awful. And the heel turn, if you say Cena's heel turn, that I could understand because that was one of the biggest things in all of wrestling. And it was still one of the worst botched things in company history. I'm going to go the invasion. Because the Cena heel turn, or the Cena, I mean, you're saying Cena's final run. Cena's final run, for as much bad shit happened, as much shit like sucked, he still had some very good matches. The second Cody match was excellent. The Logan match was excellent. He won the IC title briefly. He did some great business for WWE. That invasion shit didn't really help anyone. I mean, it literally killed a fucking company. If it worked out, WCW would have gotten the slot on Mondays for Nitro. SmackDown would have gone to Thursday, or SmackDown would have been the WWE show on Thursdays. The invasion was so bad and had so little star power. The creative was awful. It killed DDP's trajectory completely. Booker T, it took him a while to kind of get back to the main event level after that. He was a mid-card player for a while after that. The other bigger stars didn't come in until later on. It ended with a whimper. Obviously, WWE won. There's not a lot of matches from that period that are worth watching. Like, oh my God, this was such a spectacle. I mean, some involving the bigger stars, but by and large, I mean, it was not a prosperous period for WWE either. Their peak was WrestleMania 17. It was all downhill from there. So bigger flop easily was the invasion. Am I a little surprised Austin never shows up for 316 Day? Yes and no. I was honestly surprised they didn't show up last night. They were in fucking Texas. I mean, clearly that's a guy who does not give a fuck. I mean, why even do it in Texas? I mean, I'm shocked more people were not complaining about that after Raw was over, that Stone Cold wasn't there. I know he said he would not be there, but that could have been a work, and it's like, oh, he'll show up anyway. I still thought he could show up, and I'm kind of bummed that he didn't. Just to get him involved in like the Punk stuff would have been fucking cool with Roman. I don't know, man. They could have found a role for him on the show. He'll show up to do the attendance numbers at Mania, but not for 316 Day. I guess it's because he lives in Vegas now. It's easier for him to get there. He doesn't live in Texas anymore. Not as easy to get there. Didn't want to fucking do it. They'll plug all of the shit, all the fucking deals. They mentioned Stone Cold all episode long, but he wasn't even there. Kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you. But it's not that he never shows up for 316 Day. He was there for 316 Day in 2020 when there were no fucking fans. He was there for that shit. He was probably like, yeah, never again. I'm not coming back for 316 Day ever again. I mean, that shit was so bad with him going, give me a hell yeah. And there's like no one there, and he has to interact with Byron. So bad. Kadeem, what's going on? Should Brock versus Oba open night 1 or night 2 of Mania? Hey, why not? Not a bad idea. I mean, we don't know what the full card is, so it's kind of hard to say now. But, yeah, I would say why not? I would say why not? I know Brock and Omos opened Mania night 2 in 39. So, and honestly, it wasn't a bad match. Brock would probably want to open the show so he can go the fuck home. And then, what about Mania 38? Oh, let's think about this for a second. If he's not the main event, where has he ended up on the card? He opened in Mania in 2023. In 2022, he main evented. 2021, he wasn't on the card. 2020, he main evented. 2019, he opened with Rollins. I remember that. 2018, he closed. 2017, he didn't close, but he was it was a 5-minute match with Goldberg. In 2016, he was in the mid-card. So in 2015, he headlined. So it's either he's the main event or the opening, it feels like a lot of the time. I do feel like it would probably open. That's a good point. Fernando said, is Stone Cold the biggest star I've ever interviewed? He might be. I don't know if you can call it an interview, but I talked to Rock in one of the press conferences at Mania 40, actually, which is where this shirt is from. We're in green for St. Patrick's Day today. I mean, that's probably the biggest interview interaction I've ever had, was with The Rock at Mania 40, because he's a bigger name than Stone Cold by far in the grand scheme of things, not just wrestling related. It depends. I mean, is John Cena a bigger star than Stone Cold? Because I've interviewed John Cena. And I've interviewed Stone Cold twice. He was great both times. 2 of my favorite interviews ever. Cena was really good. I've talked to Cena. In general, I mean, I talked to the guy that won the gold medal for the men's hockey team, Jack Hughes, recently. He's a pretty big fucking name in the NHL. I don't know if he's a bigger name than Stone Cold Steve Austin. More people know who he is now than before. I talked to him. Dwight Howard from the NBA, I talked to him. I talked to Devontae Adams from the NFL. I don't know if any of these people are bigger names than Stone Cold, but I'm just telling you, I've talked to them, so I don't know. I mean, compared to Stone Cold, I don't know, star power-wise. Wrestling-wise, I mean, I've spoken to Triple H. He was harder to interview. I mean, the interview was great, but it was harder to get to interview him because he's in charge of the company, or he's an executive. But I've talked to Triple H. I've talked to Shawn Michaels a few times. He's a massive name. Kurt Angle, Goldberg. Stone Cold's probably a bigger star than all of them. Undertaker was another massive one. I've talked to him several times. Kane. Yeah, I mean, really everyone. Randy Orton, CM Punk. So it kind of depends on who you consider to be the biggest star. Roman Reigns I've interviewed a few times. So it kind of depends of everyone I mentioned who you consider to be the biggest star. Emmanuel said, have you ever seen the Margarita promo between Stone Cold and Rock? I think so. Was that on Raw or was that a dark match? All right, okay, well, you said Margaritaville was on the Raw before Survivor Series 01. Note, they didn't even reference the WWE versus Alliance match in that segment. So, okay, it was on television, not a dark match. I think I have seen it. I don't remember it all that well, but I feel like I have. I mean, it sounds familiar enough to where I'm aware of it, but I don't think I've seen it all that often. I have seen it, I've definitely heard of it. I'll have to go back and check it out at some point maybe to kind of refresh my memory. I did go back and watch. Jordan B. Sent in a comment for this episode. Shout out to Jordan, who is one of the winners of the Royal Rumble game. I know he got a shirt. Thank you, Jordan, for letting me know. He had asked me to check out the Javon Evans Dragon Lee match from main event last week, so I did before filming today, before recording. I thought it was a great match. I thought they worked really well together. It was a fun match for as long as it lasted, so shout out to Jordan for letting me know about that. I don't watch main event anymore because I don't review the show anymore. For a while, it was not accessible. It is now, but it's like I'm just fucking over-reviewing it because I missed over a year of the show, so I don't watch and review the show anymore. But I did check out that match, and it was a lot of fun, as advertised. So thank you for suggesting that, Jordan B. I think that's going to do it, guys, for today's video. Thank you for all the comments, all the activity, all the questions, whether you sent it in during the show or beforehand. Always appreciated. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post I typically put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below on this very video, after we're done being live here today, of course. And I'll include your question in next week's edition. Emmanuel, take care. Thank you for joining, my friend. Thank you for the question and for joining us here in the chat. Always great to see you, my friend. Do you understand what they're doing with Dragunov, Fernando said. I don't know. I mean, obviously it seems like, I like the story where he's like, he's battling himself. He's insecure because he's been losing a lot lately. So he doesn't want to face Carmelo out of fear that he can't beat him to win back that United States Championship. I like that. So I don't feel, I'm honestly not as worried about him as I am many other people who it feels like they don't know what the fuck they're doing with them. So I think that's what's going on with Dragunov, if I had to take a guess. Other shout-outs here as we head on out. Want to shout out the channel members real quick. Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, Daniel Malcolm at I'm Quarter on X, DJ Swerve1 at Swerve1 on IG, Mr. Marceau at RJ_Marceau on X, John Ritland, Real Honesty with John Ritland on YouTube, Richie Red Planet Wrestling on YouTube, and Average Grunt at gruntwrestling.bluesky.social on Blue Sky. More perks include, having your name shouted out at the beginning and end of every single live stream on these beginning and end of every live stream that we do here on the channel. You get top billing and hashtag AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio, early and ad-free access to certain videos here on the channel, and much more if you are a channel member. $5 a month, so please consider signing up for that. More information down below in the description box. At the very least, like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications to be notified every single time we upload new content and every single time we're live here on the channel, specifically on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So speaking of which, we'll be back here live on Thursday with Mr. Marceau for the next episode of WrestleRant Radio. He is indeed back from Florida, so he'll be joining me on Thursday for that. Looking forward to chatting with Mr. Marceau about some AEW stuff, Ronda Rousey in AEW, a Raw review for Monday, and a lot more. So until next time, guys, thank you again for tuning in to today's episode. I thought there was something else I wanted to mention as well. Oh yeah, the WrestleMania 17 watch-along. Not coming up tomorrow or next week, but tentatively, maybe planning on doing one on April 1st. So keep an eye out for that on the exact 25-year anniversary of that show. I feel like that'd be a perfect WrestleMania to rewatch, and it would be a lot of fun. So join me for that maybe on April 1st, 2026. But until then, I am Graham GSM Matthews. Have an awesome one, folks. Enjoy the rest of your week. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And I'll catch your ass down the Cloverfield Road.